Jean, turn over. Reba watched, a morbid fascination taking hold. Barbara Jean complied, lying on her stomach. Jordan then knelt beside her, placing his hands firmly on her back. Reba, you need to watch this one. This one is my favorite. Now, this gives a good stretch to the back and chest muscles. Really should do this once a day. Barbara Jean sighed contentedly. Oh, I'd do it all day if I could. Reba's stomach churned. This was too much. The intimacy of the stretches, the suggestive comments, Barbara Jean's obvious enjoyment. It all painted a picture that was increasingly damning. You know, is this one of these, gyms that have the heat on real high? Reba mumbled, suddenly feeling incredibly warm, a sheen of sweat breaking out on her forehead. I'm sweating. Jordan, oblivious to Reba's discomfort, clapped his hands. Okay. Oh wow. Time for some weightlifting. Oh, good. That's enough of that stretching. Reba breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe the weightlifting would be less intimate. But as Jordan guided Barbara Jean to a bench press, Reba watched in horror as he spotted her, his hands dangerously close to, and at times, directly on, her chest. Hello. Hello, Jordan encouraged, as Barbara Jean struggled with the weights. Okay, knock this out. Yeah, okay, all right. Reba had seen enough. More than enough. She felt a cold dread settle in her gut. Brock was right. He had to be. This wasn't just training. This was something else entirely. She turned to Barbara Jean, her voice tight. You know, I think I've seen enough. Barbara Jean, flushed and breathless from a workout, looked at Reba, her eyes bright. So, what do you think? You have any interest in getting a personal trainer? Reba managed a tight smile. Only if he takes me out to dinner first. Barbara Jean frowned, missing the sarcasm entirely. Are you sure, Reba? Seriously, this is one of the best relationships I've ever had. Reba's heart sank. Relationships? That word, combined with everything she'd just witnessed, solidified her conviction. I think Jordan has his hands full with you. Jordan, overhearing, chuckled. Oh, you're a beginner, Reba. You'll start with Dot. He called out across the gym. Yeah, this is Reba. She seems a little tense. I'd spend some extra time on this stretching. He winked at Reba. Reba felt a fresh wave of humiliation wash over her. She just wanted to get out of there. She nodded curtly to Barbara Jean, mumbled a quick goodbye, and practically fled the gym. The thumping beat of the music and the sight of all those toned bodies echoing in her mind. She had gone in hoping to find nothing. Instead, she had found everything she feared. Chapter 4. The Unraveling and a Confrontation in the Living Room. Reba drove home in a daze, the images from the gym replaying in her mind like a disturbing highlight reel. Jordan's hands on Barbara Jean's leg, on her back, spotting her at the bench press. All while Barbara Jean giggled and preened, the word relationship echoing in her ears. It was all too much. Brock's paranoia, once dismissed as mere insecurity, now seemed chillingly. She found Brock pacing the living room, a furrow etched deep between his eyebrows. He looked up as she entered, his eyes wide with a desperate hope. So, did you see him? What's he like? Is he little? Could I take him? Reba slumped onto the couch, feeling utterly drained. He's big, but he's not as big as Doc. She was trying to inject some humor into the situation, but her voice was flat. Brock ignored the joke. His gaze was intense. So, what do you think? Is there something going on there? Reba hesitated. She had gone to the gym hoping to come back and tell Brock there was nothing to worry about, that Barbara Jean was faithful, that his fears were unfounded, that their friendship was intact, but the words wouldn't come. Look, Brock, Reba began, choosing her words carefully, trying to soften the blow. I was hoping that I could go down to the gym and check things out and come back and tell you that there's nothing to worry about. But Brock's eyes widened, his face paling. That's it, Reba. He seemed to be bracing himself for the worst. Reba took a deep breath. She couldn't lie. Not to Brock. Not about this. Okay. I don't know if they're having an affair or not, but if they keep working out like that, they might be having a baby. The words tumbled out, a desperate attempt to lighten the gravity of the situation, but the underlying message was clear. There was an intimacy there, a physical closeness that went beyond professional training. Brock stared at her, his jaw slack. Then, a slow, dawning horror spread across his face. Man, I knew there was something going on. He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes darting wildly around the room. I knew it. Just then, the front door opened, and Barbara Jean walked in, radiating her usual post-gym glow. Hey everybody, I'm here. And I'm saying, well, she trailed off, noticing the tense atmosphere, the way Brock was glaring at her, and Reba was looking at the floor. "Oh, hi, honey," Barbara Jean said, her cheerful tone faltering. Brock's voice was low, laced with a raw hurt that Reba had rarely heard. "Don't you hi honey me?" Barbara Jean blinked. Confused? "What are you talking about?" Brock took a step closer, his voice rising. "Did you honestly think that I wouldn't find out about you and Jordan?" Barbara Jean's eyes widened in genuine shock. "What? We were working out. It was perfectly innocent." She turned to Reba, a desperate plea in her eyes. "Reba, tell him what you saw." Reba flinched. She didn't want to be in the middle of this. "I don't want to get involved." "She said you're having an affair," Brock stated, his voice trembling with emotion. Reba winced. "Any more than I already am." She was trapped, caught between her best friend and her ex-husband, both looking at her for answers, for validation. Barbara Jean stared at Brock, then at Reba, her expression shifting from confusion to a dawning understanding, and then to a furious indignation. "Okay, Jordan and I are not having an affair. He's gay." The words hung in the air, thick and heavy, then slowly began to dissipate the tension. Reba felt a sudden, dizzying rush of relief, followed immediately by a wave of mortification. Gay. Of course, it made so much sense now. The playful wink, the ease of physical contact, the lack of any real romantic tension from Jordan's side. It was all professional, friendly, harmless. Brock, however, was still stuck on one detail. "What? Reba, do you honestly think I would let a straight man grab my breasts?" Reba's face flushed. "Excuse me, he grabbed your breasts?" Barbara Jean threw her hands up in exasperation. "He's gay. He wasn't touching them. He was arranging them." Reba felt a nervous giggle escape her lips. "Okay, then, everything's fine. Carry on with your lives." She wanted nothing more than to disappear, to erase the last few hours, the last few days, from existence. But Barbara Jean wasn't finished. Her eyes, still blazing with anger, turned to Reba. "No, Reba, everything is not fine. I had no idea you were so threatened by the new me. The slim waist, the toned legs, the felice." Reba felt a fresh wave of humiliation. "The fellas? Oh, the puppies," she muttered, trying to deflect, to make a joke, anything to escape the piercing gaze of her best friend. "I am not threatened by you," Reba insisted, though even as she said the words, a tiny voice in her head whispered, "Liar." "Really?" Barbara Jean challenged, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Yeah. Then why'd you go down to the gym? What, were you spying on me?" Reba's shoulders slumped. There was no escape. "No. Okay. Yes. I went down to the gym because I thought there was something going on between you and Jordan." "Why would you think that?" Barbara Jean's voice was incredulous. "Because you've changed," Reba blurted out, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "I have not," Barbara Jean protested, her voice rising. "Yes, you have," Reba insisted, the dam of her own insecurities finally breaking. "Ever since you lost all that weight, you're pushy and obnoxious, and you always want to be the center of attention." Barbara Jean stared at her, then burst out laughing. "Hell, I've always been that way." Brock, still reeling from the revelation about Jordan, managed a weak chuckle. She kind of got a point there. Reba felt a flash of anger at Brock, but then she looked at Barbara Jean, really looked at her, and realized that maybe, just maybe, Barbara Jean was right. She had always been a force of nature, a larger-than-life personality. Maybe the weight loss hadn't changed her personality as much as it had amplified it. "Yeah, well, something's changed," Barbara Jean Reba insisted, though her conviction was wavering. Barbara Jean's smile faded, replaced by a look of genuine hurt. "Yeah, the way you guys look at me. I'm still the same Barbara Jean I always was. I'm just less winded." Her voice was soft now, tinged with a sadness that pierced Reba's heart. Brock, ever the empathetic one when not consumed by his own neuroses, stepped forward. "No, she might be right. It could be us. I'm sorry, hon. Reba just got me all worked up." He cast a blaming glance at Reba, who rolled her eyes. Look, Barbara Jean,